What would you say if someone told you that one of the most recognized celebrities in the world, a woman often associated with fashion, would one day walk through the gates of the White House not for glamour, not for publicity, but to fight for justice? What if the name Kim Kardashian, usually connected to red carpets and flashing cameras, became inseparable from the movement for criminal justice reform? It sounds improbable, almost like a twist in a modern drama. Yet this is no fiction. This is the real story of Kim Kardashian visiting the White House and fighting for criminal justice reform. A story that unfolded in front of the world's eyes, with consequences that reached far beyond celebrity gossip. The day Kim Kardashian visited the White House was unlike any other in recent memory. Reporters gathered outside, cameras poised to capture what many dismissed as a publicity stunt. Yet behind the polished lenses and speculative whispers, something significant was brewing. The purpose of her visit wasn't vanity, it was justice. She had come with a mission to advocate for Alice Marie Johnson, a grandmother serving a life sentence for a non-violent drug offense. At first glance, the idea seemed almost surreal. But here she was, a woman from a family famous for reality television, entering one of the most powerful political arenas in the world to speak about reform, mercy, and the future of America's justice system. The air was tense as she stepped into the White House. The marble halls, the portraits of past leaders staring down, seemed to echo with history. Yet, in that moment, history was about to be rewritten in a most unexpected way. Kim Kardashian wasn't here to entertain. She wasn't here to be photographed. She was here to persuade, to challenge, and to confront the weight of an unjust system. The words "Kim Kardashian visits the White House and fights for criminal justice reform" were already being typed out across news headlines. But few understood the depth of what was truly happening. From the outside, cynics scoffed. Was this simply another spectacle? A merging of celebrity culture and politics? Or was it something more? As she moved through the corridors of the White House, Kim Kardashian carried with her the story of Alice Johnson, a woman whose life had been defined by a single mistake, punished with disproportionate severity. For Kim, this wasn't just an abstract cause. It was deeply personal. She had seen the pain in Alice's story. She had felt the injustice in her sentence. And she had decided to use her influence for something greater than herself. Inside the meeting room, the stakes were immense. Across the table sat powerful decision-makers, individuals who held the authority to change a life with a stroke of a pen. Kim's presence alone was symbolic, a bridge between two worlds that rarely collided. She was not a lawyer, nor a politician. She was a cultural icon, stepping into an arena where lives hung in the balance. The cameras outside could only guess at what words were exchanged. But the truth was simple. She was asking for compassion, demanding fairness, and pressing for criminal justice reform that extended beyond one case. Why should a grandmother spend her life behind bars for a non-violent crime? She asked, her voice steady, her resolve unshaken. This was not a script. It was real. It was raw. And in that moment, the walls of stereotype began to crack. Kim Kardashian, so often the subject of headlines about fashion or family drama, was now shaping a new narrative, one that had nothing to do with vanity and everything to do with humanity. The White House had seen countless figures walk through its doors, activists, world leaders, yet Kim Kardashian's visit stood apart because it represented a merging of worlds. The glamour of Hollywood collided with the gravity of Washington. And while some dismissed her efforts as symbolic, others began to recognize the shift. Celebrity influence could be more than endorsement deals. It could change lives. News broke quickly after her visit. Kim Kardashian visits the White House and fights for criminal justice reform became a global headline. The public's reaction was divided. Some applauded her courage, while others ridiculed her involvement in such a serious issue. But beneath the noise, something undeniable had happened: awareness. Millions of people who had never thought about sentencing reform, prison overcrowding, or clemency were suddenly talking about it. For many, Alice Johnson's face became the face of injustice. And for others, Kim's decision to step into this fight proved that influence, when wielded with purpose, could alter the course of a nation. When Alice Johnson was granted clemency, it was more than just a victory for one woman, it was a symbol. It showed that the fight for criminal justice reform was not reserved for academics, politicians, or legal experts. It could be taken up by anyone with the determination to stand against injustice. And Kim Kardashian's visit to the White House had proven that even the most unexpected figures could become advocates for change. But the story didn't end there. This wasn't a single act of charity or a one-time appearance for publicity. Kim Kardashian continued to speak out. She funded legal teams, partnered with organizations, and used her immense platform to shed light on systemic flaws. The phrase, "Kim Kardashian fights for criminal justice reform," no longer sounded stringent, was a fact. She pushed for clemency in multiple cases, helped reunite families torn apart by harsh sentencing, and reminded the world that reform was not just a political issue, it was a human one. Her journey also raised deeper questions. What does it mean when celebrity influence enters politics? Can fame and activism truly merge to create lasting change? The answer, as her work showed, was yes. It was rooted in authenticity and persistence. Each headline, each speech, each visit brought more attention to issues long ignored. The cause was bigger than her name. But her name opened doors that had been closed for decades. In the years following her first White House visit, Kim Kardashian expanded her fight. She studied law, determined to deepen her understanding of the system she was challenging. She wasn't content with being a spokesperson. She wanted to be an advocate who understood every corner of the law. Her commitment shocked many, but it also inspired countless others. Young people who might never have cared about reform suddenly paid attention because Kim Kardashian was leading the charge. As a narrator watching this unfold, I cannot help but marvel at the transformation. The woman who once symbolized the height of celebrity culture had now redefined what influence could mean. Kim Kardashian visits the White House and fights for criminal justice reform. Is not just a headline, it is a testament to the power of unexpected voices, the blending of fame and purpose, and the undeniable fact that change can come from places we least expect. Her fight also ignited broader debates within society. Critics argued about privilege, questioning whether others could have secured the same access to the White House. Supporters countered that privilege used for justice was privilege well spent. The discussions were messy, complicated, and emotional, but they were happening. And that, in itself, was progress. Even now, the echoes of that first visit remain. It was not the end of the story, but the beginning of a movement that grew larger than one person, one celebrity, or even one cause. The halls of the White House had witnessed something extraordinary, a blending of glamour and grit, influence and advocacy, celebrity and justice. And from that day forward, the world would never look at Kim Kardashian the same way again. So when we look back at the headline, Kim Kardashian visits the White House and fights for criminal justice reform, we must see it not as a curiosity or a cultural anomaly, but as a moment in history. A moment when a woman known for the spotlight chose instead to shine it on others. A moment when a visit to the White House was not about power, but about mercy. A moment when justice found an unlikely ally in one of the most famous women alive. And perhaps that is the most powerful lesson of all. That change does not always come from where we expect it. Sometimes it arrives in a designer dress, walking through the gates of the White House, determined to speak for those who cannot.